So in the last section of today's lecture, or this week's lecture, I'm going to talk about the functions of the lymphatic system. Everything that I discuss in this lecture should be a review, so there shouldn't be many notes that you have to take on this stuff. If it's not, please review the textbook on the lymphatic system. So the lymphatic system major job is to clear fluids from the tissues, clean those fluids, and return them to circulation. Why are there fluids in your tissues? Well, you've got this cardiovascular system, and the cardiovascular system is going to circulate blood around the body. It's the job of the cardiovascular system to deliver nutrients to the tissues and take wastes away from the tissues. So while they're delivering nutrients are going to leak out of your capillaries with a whole bunch of fluid. Now, if we let that fluid just keep leaking out of your bloodstream, it would accumulate and you would develop edema or swelling due to fluid in the tissues. So we have a lymphatic system, and our lymphatic system follows the cardiovascular system pretty closely. In fact, anywhere that you have a capillary bed that's going to be leaking fluids, you have lymphatic vessels or lymphatic capillaries that are going to suck up those fluids. Now let's say we leaked out some fluid into our tissue and we happen to have a cut in our leg here. Well, if we leak out the fluid and bacteria are entering into the tissues in that area, and then our lymphatic system sucks it up and dumps it into circulation, well, you just have developed sepsis. So you don't want bacteria from our tissues going directly into circulation. So we need some cleaning centers along the way to make sure that we are cleaning the fluids from our tissues before we put them back into our cardiovascular system. That's where the lymphatic system comes to play. So we have many organs in here. There's the spleen, there's Peyer's patches in the intestines, the appendix is a major lymphatic organ, the thymus, which is kind of over the heart in the thoracic cavity there. And all of those work together to aid in some aspect of the lymphatic system. Our lymph nodes are these major cleaning centers, and they're designed to trap microorganisms and kill them so that they don't make it into our circulatory system. The other major function of the lymphatic system is it serves as a framework for your immune system. So like the bone marrow will produce a lot of our white blood cells, or all of our blood cells. And then where the thymus is responsible for the development of T cells. So T cell maturation, and eventually those T cells and B cells will make their way into lymph nodes in the spleen. So the lymphatic system is kind of where a lot of your white blood cells hang out on a day-to-day basis. And it's also a major cleaning center for cleaning pathogens out of the body. So here's another picture showing some of those various organs. So every major opening of the body is going to be served by some type of lymph nodes. So you have tonsils in the mouth that kind of protect all of these openings here. You've got some major lymph nodes in the neck, those cervical lymph nodes. The axillary lymph nodes will help clean any bacteria that entered into the tissues from the arms, and the inguinal lymph nodes clean any bacteria that entered in from the legs. We also have these Peyer's patches in the appendix that help control pathogens that are trying to leave the digestive tract and get into your body. So since the lymphatic system is a major storage area for a lot of your white blood cells, we're going to talk about some of these white blood cells. So leukocytes are white blood cells. There's two major types, granulocytes and agranulocytes. If you've never seen a blood smear before, this is what it looks like. You've got red blood cells, which do not have a nucleus. They have this pale center in the middle. And then white blood cells are usually purple in color, and they're usually a lot larger than your red blood cells. So since we're focusing on the immune system, we're not going to talk about the red blood cells, we're just going to talk about the white blood cells. And the granulocytes include neutrophils, eosinophils, and basophils. Neutrophils are the most numerous in circulation, and these are your major phagocytic cells. So these are going to eat a lot of pathogens and any damaged cells. Eosinophils have a lot of functions, but two of their major functions are mediating allergies and responses to parasites. So if you have a parasitic infection, you will usually express or display eosinophilia, increased number of eosinophils. Basophils. So basophils mediate inflammation and allergies. And basophils and mast cells have a lot of the same structures to them. And they used to think that mast cells were just localized basophils, and now there's a little bit more research that are saying they're actually two different cells. But usually basophils are going to be in circulation, and mast cells are going to be localized in the tissues. These mast cells are going to be the first responders in that inflammatory response that we just talked about. With the agranulocytes, you have lymphocytes. Lymphocytes include the T cells and B cells, and they're smaller. They're almost the same size as a red blood cell, and their nucleus takes up almost the entire inside of the cell there. Lymphocytes, the T cells and B cells, and natural killer cells are also considered lymphocytes. Monocytes. So monocytes are the largest white blood cell that you're going to find in circulation. Those megakaryocytes are a larger white blood cell that produce platelets, but monocytes are more numerous and they're going to be found in circulation. So what monocytes do, they're major phagocytic cells and they're immune system stimulating cells. So they're going to produce a lot of chemicals that wake up your immune system. Monocytes and macrophages are kind of the same cell. So monocytes are in circulation, macrophages are in your tissues. And there's a lot of different names for macrophages depending on what tissue you're going to find them in. So there's Kuffner cells, which are in the liver, and so forth. So there's different names for a macrophage depending on where you find them in the body.